Welcome to Movies Recapped. This video is a recap of the 2009 movie 17 Again. It is about a middle-aged man named Mike O'Donnell who magically transforms back into his 17-year-old self. Given a second chance at youth, he enrolls in high school, reconnects with his kids, and tries to mend his broken marriage. Through basketball, he bonds with his son, helps his daughter navigate teenage life, and rediscovers the true meaning of family. Ultimately, he realizes that love and relationships are more important than anything else. Let's dive in. In 1989, Michael O'Donnell was the shining star of his high school basketball team. A college scout eagerly awaited his championship game, ready to offer him a guaranteed scholarship if he played well. Just as the game was about to begin, Michael spotted his girlfriend, Scarlett, standing by the bleachers. He blew her a kiss and approached her when he noticed her troubled expression. She tried to hide her distress, but eventually confided in him that she was pregnant. As the game commenced, Michael found himself unable to focus on anything other than Scarlett. When he saw her leaving, he impulsively abandoned the game and his scholarship, choosing instead to marry her. 20 years later, Mike's life was in disarray. Scarlett had left him, forcing him to move in with his high school best friend, Ned Gold, who had become a geeky millionaire software developer. Mike's children, Maggie and Alex, kept their distance and wanted nothing to do with him. At work, his boss overlooked him for a promotion in favor of a less competent woman whom the boss favored. Frustrated, Mike exploded at his boss and was subsequently fired. On his way home, he visited his old high school and stumbled upon his 1989 team photo displayed in a showcase, triggering memories of the life he had forsaken. It was then that he encountered a mysterious janitor who asked if he genuinely wished to relive his teenage years in high school. Overwhelmed with longing, Mike affirmed his desire. However, as he hurried home, he witnessed the janitor on a bridge, apparently contemplating suicide. In an attempt to intervene, Mike himself fell into the river, only to be magically transformed back into his 17-year-old self. Once he convinced Ned of his true identity, Mike saw this as an opportunity to relive his life the right way by securing the basketball scholarship and attending college. Assumed the name Mark Gold with Ned posing as his father, Mike re-enrolled in high school and moved into Ned's mansion filled with state-of-the-art gadgets. However, as he adapted to school life, he discovered that his daughter, Maggie, was dating the sadistic basketball captain, Stan, who only sought physical intimacy from her. Furthermore, Stan tormented and bullied Mike's son, Alex. Gradually, Mark realized that the true purpose of his second chance was to assist his children and win back Scarlett's love. He forged a bond with Alex and discovered his son's exceptional basketball talent, particularly in effortlessly making three-point shots. Together, they honed Alex's skills, aiming for a spot on the team and the girl of his dreams. As Mark and Alex practiced shooting baskets daily at Alex's house, Scarlett couldn't help but notice the striking resemblance between her son's new friend and her ex-husband from 1989. Mark also assisted Scarlett in landscaping her backyard, as she aspired to start a landscaping business. During this process, Mark developed a newfound appreciation for Scarlett's talents. However, his actions occasionally verged on inappropriate, with his gestures and proximity suggesting a level of intimacy beyond what was suitable between an adult woman and a teenage boy. Additionally, when Stan broke up with Maggie for refusing to engage in sexual activity, Mark comforted her, assuring her that she would eventually find someone who cherished her as she deserved. Much to Mark's horror, Maggie began to believe that person was him. He explained that he couldn't be involved with her because he was already in love with someone else, a secret love. Eventually, the basketball team won a thrilling comeback game, with Mark contributing significantly, but it was Alex who made the winning three-point shot. Meanwhile, Ned had been infatuated with Jane, the high school principal, since the day he first visited her office to enroll his son. However, his geeky attempts to impress her only repulsed her. Finally, in exchange for laptops for all the students, Jane agreed to join Ned for dinner on the same night Mark announced a party at his house to celebrate their victory. Mark shared the party details with select individuals, but the news spread like wildfire through texts, resulting in the entire school showing up. Ned's date with Jane seemed to be heading nowhere until he admitted his perpetual failure with women. He confessed that he was merely a geek with an obsession for The Lord of the Rings. To his delight, Jane smiled and began conversing with him in Elvish, one of the languages from the iconic book series. Ned realized that Jane was also a fervent Lord of the Rings fan. Following an enchanting conversation in Elvish, Ned and Jane returned to his house, intending to enjoy a romantic evening. However, they discovered Mark's party had spiraled out of control, with hundreds of students running amok. Scarlett was present too, searching for Alex. Mark's feelings for her were overpowering, and he couldn't resist trying to kiss her in front of everyone. Appalled, Scarlett slapped him and hastily fled, with Mark in pursuit, proclaiming himself as her husband and the father of her children. Maggie and her friends witnessed this event, utterly disgusted, particularly Maggie, who had been informed of Mark's secret love but now witnessed him attempting to kiss her own mother. The following morning, while cleaning up the aftermath of the party, Ned reminded Mark that Mike O'Donnell's final divorce decree hearing with Scarlett was scheduled in 20 minutes. They rushed to the courtroom, where Ned masqueraded as Mike's lawyer. Although they were initially being ejected from the premises, Mark declared his intention to read a letter that Mike had written for his wife. Scarlett reluctantly agreed to listen, and Mark began reading with a heartfelt intensity that astonished her. He included intimate details about their courtship that only her husband could have known. Once Mark finished, he was escorted out of the courtroom, leaving Scarlett to pick up the letter and discover that it was merely a piece of paper with directions to the courthouse. Despite this revelation, Scarlett requested a postponement of the divorce decree. Attempting to put Scarlett out of his mind, Mark focused his energy on basketball, considering the scholarship and college as his sole remaining opportunities. On the day of the championship game, with Mark and Alex playing while Maggie cheered them on, Scarlett examined her high school yearbook and realized that Mark bore an uncanny resemblance to her husband at 17. It was as though they were identical. Maggie then reminded Scarlett that she was supposed to drive her to the game, causing Scarlett to remain in the bleachers to watch. As the game was about to commence, Mark caught sight of Scarlett in the stands. Using a gesture identical to the one Mike had employed in 1989, he blew her a kiss. Scarlett finally comprehended that Mark truly was her husband, somehow transformed back into a 17-year-old boy. She recognized all the reasons she had loved him then and still loved him now. However, she understood that building a life together with a 17-year-old boy was impossible. Additionally, she realized that her presence in the bleachers could potentially jeopardize Mark's college scholarship, just as it had in the past. Reluctantly, she departed, retracing the same corridor she had walked down when she left the game in 1989. Observing Scarlett's departure, Mark abandoned the game and followed her, just as he had done in 1989. He handed the ball to Alex, stating that it was now his turn, and sprinted down the corridor after Scarlett. In the stands, the mysterious janitor smiled, and by the time Mark caught up to Scarlett, he had transformed back into the adult Mike O'Donnell. Mike confessed that he had allowed his marriage to crumble due to harboring resentment towards Scarlett for the past 20 years, blaming her for his missed opportunity to attend college. Now, however, he realized that his family was the most important thing in his life and pleaded for another chance. A few days later, Mike visited Ned's house to collect his belongings and return the key. To his surprise, he found Ned in bed with Jane, both donning elf ears. Expressing his gratitude to Ned for everything he had done, Mike received a parting gift, a whistle for his new job, as Jane had appointed him as the new coach of the high school basketball team.